Evening, guys. Today is day 18 of my 40-day water-only fast, and there's a whole bunch of food behind me. I haven't eaten for 18 days, so I could probably eat all of it and wouldn't care, but obviously I'm not going to do that. But yeah, we got peanuts, we have pasta, we have oatmeal, we have beans, we have olives, we have all that stuff. Don't open peanuts and smell them. I did that a week ago. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done. Smelled amazing. We have potatoes. We have beans. Just a quick, nice little backdrop for this talk because I'm going to talk about two different lifestyles that are very, very controversial and kind of going head to head all over the place online. And I kind of want to just talk about what I've learned because I've been learning this stuff since I was an early teenager. I think since the age of like 12 or 13. I'm going to kind of go kind of fast. I'm going to plug in my phone just in case it dies. So, I feel good. Day 18, I got good energy. Still getting a little bit lightheaded. That's completely normal. It's just blood pressure fluctuations. Don't go from a low point to a high point really fast. It will make you slightly lightheaded for just a second. Dry mouth, bad breath. You can smell the acetone through your breath and your skin. That's part of ketosis. Bowel movement's good. I hadn't really had like one small one just a few days ago, and it was just a liquidy thing, and there's just a little bit of excess waste in my system that was coming out, and that's part of fasting. Urine's still clear. Everything's good to go. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. That's a little brief update. I'm going to talk about the ketogenic way of eating and the plant-based way of eating and how they are good and how they're bad and how there might be a preferred optimal way in the bulk of the scientific literature out there. There's also fruitarian. There's also raw food lifestyles, which probably are more beneficial than both of these. So we're just going to talk about these and just going to jump into it because time is an issue, battery is an issue, so I'm going to try to go quick. Just try to follow me here. Disclaimer, I am in no way trying to push any agenda. I'm not trying to push any of my beliefs. There's nothing religious about this talk. This is not my personal opinion. This is not a personal preference. This is just stating the facts that I have learned through many, many, many doctors and different literatures and different videos, different seminars, because I study both ways very deeply. And I've been trying for 3 years, since I've been on a plant-based way of eating, I've been trying for 3 years to disprove everything that I've learned, and I can't. I can find hundreds of videos saying that plant-based is more optimal than ketogenic, but I can't find really any saying that ketogenic is more optimal than a whole foods plant-based way of eating. And they're complete opposites. And they have the same effects, but they both do different things. One's a high carb, one's a low carb. And I'm going to get into it. So ketogenic way of eating, it uses body fat. Byproduct of using that fat is ketone bodies. How that happens is the breakdown of the body fat. It breaks it down into acetone, then into some other molecular additions and things, and turns it into acetoacetate. Then it turns that into hydroxybutyrate, which is a ketone body. And then that gets into the cell, and it makes ATP, which is the energy that the body is used. That's what we use. So look all that up. ATP is adenosine tryptophan. Look that stuff up too. It's just cellular science, thermodynamics. It's how we work. So the pros of a ketogenic diet: weight loss, inevitable. You're using your body fat stores, right? Lower blood glucose levels, lowers A1C. It regulates insulin better. Low insulin, it kind of gives the pancreas a break. So it doesn't pump out so much insulin. You can eat caloric-dense foods, which is what attracts people to it. You get to eat bacon, you get to eat butter, cheese, stuff like that. Your hormones regulate your hunger better. Your leptin and ghrelin hormones are totally different, so your hunger isn't so much elevated on a ketogenic way of eating. Ketogenic diet is known to help epileptic patients. There's also you can get nutrient-dense foods in a ketogenic way of eating if you're eating animal products by eating things like liver. Liver is one of the most caloric, nutrient-dense foods out there. Nutrient density is key in all lifestyles. So those are some of the benefits and pros of a ketogenic way of eating, and it's wonderful that if you will refuse any other lifestyle and you're extremely overweight, unhealthy, have glucose issues, these are going to help those. And if you feel the need you have to do that to get to a next level of health, then do it. I'm not deterring anyone from getting into a better health state. But I do try to promote optimal health, and refeeding after a water fast is key. Probably more important than the fasting itself is the lifestyle you choose afterwards, and lifestyle is key. It needs to be for life, not a short-term diet. Whatever you choose to do needs to be for life. You need to be healthy, focus on health, not weight loss. And that brings me to the cons of a ketogenic way of eating. It can cause excess of a lot of things that cause health problems in the long term. And that's why some people are totally against it, mainly a lot of nutrition doctors. But the excesses include, you can get an excess of animal proteins. Number of problems there. If you have a lot of dairy, you're going to get an excess amount of casein, which is an animal protein primarily in milk and dairy, which promotes cancer growth, a whole bunch of other health issues. It's also addictive. Dairy is addictive because it contains casomorphins, which is a morphine-like substance that is meant to make a baby calf addicted to the mother's milk as a survival mechanism. So that's a morphine-type product that we're putting in our body, and that's why people say, I don't think I can give up cheese, because there's an addictive property to it. It also gives you an excess and raises IGF-1 levels, which is a hormone that regulates health, not health but growth. Insulin-like growth factor 1 is what that is. It raises carnitine, lecithin, extreme high amounts of dietary cholesterol, depending on how much animal products you're pumping in your body, excess amounts of saturated fats, which make the blood sluggish and promotes heart disease, trans fats, endotoxins, which is in all animal products. Not only that, the lifetime bioaccumulative toxins that are in all cells of all animals, including humans. Every cell you eat of an animal, you're getting their lifetime of toxins that they have intaken. And they do detox the way other animals do, but still, if there's toxins in there, you're just getting a source of toxins. So fish, if you have a big fish like tuna eating a small fish, you have the bioaccumulative toxins of all those lifelines into that one fish. So be wary of fish, because it has high levels of cholesterol and all these other things also. And again, I'm just kind of spitting out what other doctors have basically proven through many, many, many studies. When you eat a lot of animal products, you raise the pH in the body. You make the body acidic if you have an excess of these things. And to counterbalance that pH imbalance, you're going to have to leach calcium, and you're going to have to use that from bones. And osteoporosis is a big issue these days, and animal products are contributing to that. So know that. Also, when it comes to insulin and insulin resistance, fatty acids can induce insulin resistance, and mainly this is caused by something called intramyocellular lipids, which means fats within the cell. Again, that's intramyocellular lipids. So why does this cause insulin resistance and raise blood sugar levels? So you have a cell, right? Which inside the cell you have the mitochondria, you have the all these other things, but on the outside of the cell you have the hormone receptor sites for things. Mainly I'm talking about the hormone insulin. And if you have these insulin receptor sites on the outside of a cell, and you have all of these excess fats getting into these hormone receptor sites, it's the equivalent of putting a piece of gum in a keyhole. So when it's clogged up, you have insulin coming in, which is like a key. It can't go in. If the insulin can't convert the sugars in the blood, insulin resistance happens, high blood sugar happens. So excess fats cause that. So if you're going to lower the carbs, that's not going to be an issue. But if you have any carbohydrates on a ketogenic way of eating and eating high fat, your blood glucose is going to skyrocket because it can't convert it all properly. That's why it lowers insulin. That's why it lowers blood glucose. But it has long-term effects from it. So mammalian estrogen versus plant estrogens. People have gynecomastia, man boobs basically. Plant estrogens won't cause the issues in the body like mammalian estrogens will. So know that. Dairy is contributing to most of that stuff. I would give up dairy on any lifestyle that you choose because there's nothing good about it. The casein levels, the casomorphins in it, it's just liquid growth fluid for a cow, and it makes a baby cow into a 2,000-pound cow, and you don't want that in your body. But overall, the long-term health effects, there's a long list of effects. You can look them up. There's medical studies. Again, if I'm wrong, correct me. I've been trying to prove this wrong for a long time. I'm just going off of what I've learned from many, many, many professionals on both sides of the arguments here. So, again, all these things can be prevented if you do a ketogenic way in an optimal way, which is lower the amount of animal products, cut out dairy, get your fat sources not from processed oils. Even coconut oil, it's going to have longer chains of fatty acids, but it's still a processed food that is higher in calorie. If you're going to get your fats, get it from whole avocados, get it from nuts and seeds. Coconut, whole coconut, eat the whole form of it. And you can stay in a ketogenic state by eating greens and vegetables and getting those phytochemicals, getting that fiber in. You don't have to get these dietary excesses that raise all of these things that I listed. So there's an optimal way of doing it, and it has great benefits. Do it if you feel you need to and you refuse to go on this other way of eating. Again, we have the plant-based way of eating. Some of the pros of that: weight loss, lowers blood sugar, regulates A1C, lowers amazing levels. I have friends who are type 1, type 2. The type 1, they see less insulin needs, for injections. They run marathons by eating a high carbohydrate diet. It regulates insulin. You get to eat more foods on a plant-based way of eating because the caloric density is less. So if 500 calories of a ketogenic meal, you might have a bunch of oil and meats, but if you have it in fruits, you can have this much watermelon and grapes, and you get to eat more food. And you're getting, it's very, very awesome to do that. Again, another benefit is you get to have carbs. So you don't have to restrict potatoes and rice and fruit. These things are not going to spike your blood sugar levels if you get the fats out of the system. And there's been studies that if you actually add a handful of blueberries, which should raise blood glucose, but it actually lowers overall blood glucose levels. So the myth of being fearful of carbohydrates, guys, do not be scared of carbs. Unless it's processed sugar, processed flour, processed junk, they're going to spike your levels. But whole plant sources of carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, will not spike your levels. They will not kill you like everyone thinks, and they will not make you fat. I lost 300 pounds on a high-carb way of eating. Swallow that one. So anyone who says insulin and carbs prevent weight loss, that's 100% false. I'm living proof of that, and thousands of others can testify to that also. A plant-based way of eating reverses so many health issues, diseases. It reverses type 2 diabetes. It reverses heart disease completely. It reverses many autoimmune disorders. You get lots of fiber when you eat a whole foods plant-based way of eating, and that cleanses the body. When you eat a lot of meat, cheese, and dairy, you're not going to get as much fiber in the body, so elimination is not going to be as good unless you eat a lot of vegetables, which is fine. You can do the ketogenic way of eating, just do it healthy. And healthy is doing it in a whole foods way. And these doctors, Jason Fung, Eric Berg, they promote whole foods, so I'm not putting them down at all. But there is a long list of side effects from this stuff. Some more pros of a plant-based way of eating: it's super nutrient dense. You get the phytochemicals, the anti-cancerous properties, the antioxidants in all the plant foods. And yeah, you can get, nutrient-dense foods like liver on a ketogenic way of eating, but you're also getting the cholesterol, the fats, the excess animal protein. So just be wary of that. There's a story of someone in this church who actually went on a plant-based way of eating, and they were taking insulin for years. On second day of being on a plant-based way of eating, they got off of their insulin. Just a quick story that's kind of cool. There's another thing about carbs, saying that carbohydrates are non-essential to the body, which is basically true, but your brain does need glucose. It's going to break down your body fat when you're in ketosis and actually provide a little bit of glucose to the brain to survive. But carbohydrates are an extremely clean, pure source of fuel, and if you can get the fats and the excess toxins and stuff out of the body, I highly recommend going plant-based, because the energy, the overall health effects, you can feel it, because I've been on both ways of living a lot, and I'm going to say plant-based is, for me, wins by far. If you do it in an optimal way. Now, there's bad ways of doing both, so know that. And one of the cons of a plant-based way of eating is B12 levels and sometimes D3 levels. But if you get sunshine and if you eat stuff like mushrooms and other things that might have a D in it, you're going to be fine on the D3 levels. B12, you can take a supplement, every couple of weeks, every few weeks, and you're going to be completely fine. And the only reason we have to do that is because the world has become so industrialized and our water sources have been so polluted by environment that we don't get B12 in our natural water supply anymore. So if in nature 1,000 years ago, we never had to worry about that. So that's just environmental issues. And honestly, animal agriculture is deteriorating our pollution, our health of the planet. And that's another issue. But mainly, water fasting doctors who promote the ketogenic way of eating, there's few of them, and they're not as experienced, and probably haven't helped as many people in a clinician, in a fasting clinic. So doctors like Dr. Herbert Shelton has helped over 40,000 patients back in the early 1900s. Wrote many books on fasting and natural hygiene and health and diseases. And he promotes whole plants, non-processed stuff, not even blending foods, food combining. Check out Dr. Herbert Shelton. Actually, if you're in the group, check out the files section. There's so many amazing texts in there, like 50 to 55 different texts and books and articles and stuff like that. So again, if you're on YouTube and you are watching this, join the fasting group, water, fasting in all caps. And Dr. Alan Goldhamer is another guy who is the director at True North Health Center in California. He promotes an SOS-free, salt, oil, sugar, SOS-free, whole foods, plant-based way of eating to his patients after a fast. Lauren Lockman is another fasting expert who has a retreat, promotes whole plant foods, high carbohydrates after water fasting. Dr. Joel Fuhrman wrote a book on fasting and nutrition, recommends only water and fasting, as all these doctors do, only water, no salts, no supplements, no coffee, and they all promote whole plants after fasting. And when it comes to insulin, guys, all macros are insulinogenic. Fats need insulin, proteins need insulin, and carbohydrates need insulin. So you can eat meat. Meat is also insulinogenic, so know that also. But guys, when it comes to lifestyles, you have ketosis, which is a survival state. And if it's wintertime and there's no vegetation and you have to eat an animal, do it. But we don't need to worry about that in our day and age. So you don't have to go into that survival mode to thrive. And eating fresh whole foods from the earth is a thriving state versus a survival state. So if you get the toxins out, get the fats out of the cells, eat those carbs, you can eat so many potatoes, fruits, rice, whole foods, veggies without any ill effects. So again, look into all this stuff yourself. The bulk of scientific literature is overwhelming on the plant-based side of things, and I've been spending almost all my free time the past few years trying to disprove it. And all I want to do is put ketogenic and plant-based on an equal level field, because right now plant-based is winning by a landslide. And all I'm trying to do is promote optimal ways of eating, especially after a water fast. And the health issues are not there with the plant-based way of eating as they are with the ketogenic way of eating. So if you're going to do keto, do it optimally, do it with whole foods, do it with clean animal sources and not in an excess. You don't have to eat bacon, pork, and chicken and beef and all this stuff 3 times a day, 4 times a day. Definitely stay away from processed meats, bologna, deli meats, hot dogs. The World Health Organization has deemed processed meats carcinogenic, cancer-causing, not what you want. Ketogenic is not all about just weight loss. Think about your optimal health. And when I lost 300 pounds, I gave up the thought about weight. I don't weigh myself anymore. I really could care less about weight. It's about optimal health, because optimal health will get you to a state where your weight balances automatically. Environmental issues. Animal agriculture adds more pollution to the planet than all vehicles and industry combined. And that's killing our planet, guys. So there's another good reason not to go towards the animal product route. It's economical to be plant-based. The potatoes, rice, beans, they're some of the cheapest foods on the planet. If you look at price per pound of meats, you're spending more money. So not only is it more cheap to go plant-based, it's more environmental friendly. And I'm going to wrap this up. But guys, no matter what you do, don't mix the two fuels. Don't mix carbohydrates and fats. They conflict. So if you're going to do ketogenic, keep the carbs out. That's what keeps you in a ketogenic state. But do it with whole foods. Don't do the processed stuff. Don't do the processed meats. Keep it with whole animal sources, rarely, not all day, every day. Keep it mostly plants. Use whole fats from avocados, coconut, seeds, nuts. That's where you should get your fat sources from, and you won't have as many ill effects. So there's a good way of doing the ketogenic way of diet, and there's a good way of doing the plant-based. So if you're going to do the plant-based, keep all the fats out. Even watch the overt fats like avocados and stuff in excess, but you can have an avocado every once in a while, of course. But keep it whole. Don't go the plant-based way of eating and be like, well, I'm going to eat nothing but pasta and processed carbs. No. Processed foods in general is what you need to cut out of your diet forever. Maybe as a rare treat if you don't have any health issues and you can have pasta once in a blue moon. So stop going against nature, guys. That's the biggest takeaway I can give you out of everything I've learned. If it's come from the earth, eat it. But don't do it in an excess. And when you blend stuff and you dry it and you powder it and package it, it's going to cause dietary excess. So keep it whole. If you can go out in nature and find it, eat it. You can't go out into the wood and find a jar of coconut oil. You can't go find a slab of bacon. You can't go buy a pound of chicken, beef, and bacon, and butter and cheese in the wild all day, every day like you can at the store. So keep it natural as the way nature intended. So keep it whole. Don't mix fats. Don't mix carbs. Choose wisely. Go over the literature. Look up these doctors I've recommended. Look up plant-based documentaries. Look up ketogenic doctors. Weigh your options. Get back to me on your opinion. I'm going to take it to the end here, guys. I know this is a long video, but it's an important one, and I could probably talk hours on this subject. But guys, whatever you do, embrace the journey. Love y'all. Bye.